This is Joe's Corner 76. I'll be discussing the human condition. In order to change it, we need to be involved. I think Canada needs a change or we won't survive as the country we have. There seems to be only one alternative. Do you agree? Are you like me and have finally had it with the Trudeau Liberals? Do you like being lectured on how you should act and talk and think? Should you be labeled everything from a racist to an uneducated, narrow-minded individual who needs to be guided back to the right path? Are you tired of being lectured by the woke, narrow-minded elitists who tell us only their way is the right one? You can see through this bullshit. Help change the narrative. Here's what Trudeau Liberals say they are. They claim to want to have a hearing for other views, but they only are shocked and offended to discover there are other views. They see you are not woke, progressive, and left-leaning as they are. There are more of us who see things differently than the Trudeauites. What do most Canadians want from their government? We want a leader who's interested in governing to get things done that benefit the average Canadian after hearing their views, not as a leader concerned with selfies and promoting his point of view over all else. We want a leader who can respect us because he keeps promises as much as he can and who clearly explains why he can't keep them. We need a leader who can, when necessary, make tough decisions to solve a problem, even when it seems it's harsh and not as popular as long as it's explained to the electorate. A leader who will state that the buck stops with them, not one who blames everything and everyone because they haven't got the guts to admit that the government made a mistake and they will take the hit. The responsible minister will resign and take responsibility. A government that has a hope of getting public cooperation must clearly state its intentions. Let its members speak up if they disagree because they all know they are servants of the people, not servants of the government. We may not always agree with the government in power, but all Canadians expect competence in government and the provision of basic services. We want our passports in a timely manner with no weaselly excuses. The government needs to get all of the passport department employees back to work. We want our airports run efficiently without being blamed for the delays. We want a government that tells the civil service they are the servants of the people, not the government. We need a government that will clean house so that we get this kind of public service. We want a government who respects the taxpayers' money and realizes that it's our money, not theirs, and they have a duty to spend it responsibly on things the people want. We need a government that recognizes and practices policies that benefit the whole country, not just certain areas. We need to revisit federal transfers to provinces and start and require that all provinces work towards balanced budgets and not rely on the federal government as the reason they survive. We need a government that acknowledges that the economy is the number one priority of all Canadians and outlines a plan to improve it. We need supply chains given a priority to see what we can do to improve them. We are worried that we're not going to be able to feed and house our children and families. And what kind of a future will our children have? The government is not making inflation a number one priority. They have not proposed any of the following: a reduction in government spending over what is absolutely necessary. We need a government that will look at every department and cut any fat that exists. Before any new programs get started, we need to know how they will be financed, the necessity for them, and what can be cut to fund them. Admitting and taking responsibility for spending by printing money that has created inflation and eroded the purchasing power of our dollar. The Bank of Canada missed the mark and kept telling us that inflation was not a problem, and now they are jacking up rates to compensate for their mistake. And its obsession with green energy, constantly lecturing us about what we need to do to achieve zero emissions. We need our fossil fuel industries to produce our food, run our transportation industries, and to heat our homes. Setting emission targets that can only be met by shutting down our economy. In reality, they know they can't be met because we can't shut Canada down. The government has no plans to achieve the goals that they set, except for a carbon tax that is killing us. They won't even delay the implementation of further carbon tax in view of our present economic state. What is this government doing about it? It won't build pipelines that cross the country to bring our energy to all parts of Canada. We're still importing oil from overseas at the cost of billions. This money should stay in Canada. With recent events, we can see energy security is a priority. Canada needs an energy security plan. With no pipelines to ship our oil and natural gas, which would reduce emissions, we are forced to sell our oil and gas to the U.S. at discounted prices with an estimated loss of $24 billion per year. We need to replace this government that is obsessed with killing our fossil industry, going forward with certain green energy policies that don't work, with no regards to the needs of the average Canadian. Fossil fuels will be here until 2050 and beyond, and we need to build pipelines to ship our resources to the world to benefit our economy, our social programs, helping to reduce the national debt, and letting our Indigenous people share in the oil income. We need a government that points out the obvious. China and India produce 2/3 of global emissions. Canada produces 1.6%. They need to reduce emissions, and we could with the export of natural gas. We have one of the cleanest oil production records in the world, and our industry is constantly working to improve it. We have to stop letting the green energy dictators oppose nuclear energy. It has zero emissions. We have the expertise to sell it to the world. Stop with this obsession to reduce the use of fertilizer. This would reduce food production, force farmers out of business, and increase food prices even further. We as a country were well respected on the world stage, and we have played a large part in helping to shape our world. We need to get back to that again and recover from little Lord Fauntleroy and his international escapades. We need to clearly state we are not admirers of dictatorships, but of democracy. We need to gain back the trust and respect of our allies, since our security depends on them. We need to get back to the well-balanced form of government we had. The future is uncertain, but with a plan for the economy, energy, national unity, controlled government spending, and a country that values individual initiative and not government being everything to us, we can succeed. You can change your country and your life. Vote Conservative. It's the only alternative. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Joe's Corner 76. You can hear me on Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Spotify, Radio Public, Stitcher, and YouTube at Joe's Corner 76.